Oh hi! Welcome to Aquata Zoo, where we like to nerd out over all things zoo and aquarium related. I'm l.semple, and today I'd like to talk to you a little bit about accidental micromanaging. I'm going to try to give micromanagers a little bit of a benefit of the doubt, just because they might be doing it because they don't realize it and they don't know what else to do. So this is kind of geared towards maybe folks who don't realize that they're micromanaging others and haven't figured out what they are supposed to do as far as their leadership style and their techniques and all that stuff. And so we're just going to handle it that way. It's an accidental micromanager. And what do I mean when I'm talking about a micromanager? I mean somebody who's kind of overbearing in their style and really kind of demonstrates a lack of trust as far as leaving people alone to do the things that they need to do. They're kind of up in your business as the employee, they're asking, what are you doing? I need regular updates, or they might just kind of want to do it on their own or tell you exactly how to get from point A to point B. It's a very common leadership mistake, I would say, and it's one that I've run into in my field of work many times, but it's pretty common overall. I think a lot of us have dealt with micromanaging leaders in our past. So how did we get here? There are a few different ways that this tends to happen, and it's not all inclusive, of course, but I would say, at least in my field, the most common way is that somebody has been promoted because they're really good at a technical job, and then a leadership position opens, and they happen to be the one who's got the most time in the position or the most skilled in that technical work. Then they get promoted because that seems like the most natural thing to do. It's a reward for somebody who has been in that position for a while or does really, really good work. However, now you're dealing with somebody who's expected to lead a team who does not have those interpersonal leadership skills that are required for leading a team effectively. So this person, really all they know is all that technical stuff and how they manage their technical work, and now they're going to have to lead a team whose job is to do the technical work while they do other things that are more related to people management, maybe budgets, stuff like that. They're expected to take this supervisory role instead of being the person doing that technical work themselves. It's really hard to make that transition before somebody is ready to do so and before they have picked up those interpersonal skills that they're going to need, because they just see all these other folks around them doing technical work but not doing it as well as they did. And so they're going to be driven to fix that, and therefore that's how you get somebody who's micromanaging, because they do know how to do that technical work and they want the other folks that are now working under them to be able to do that work as well as they did. However, that's not their job anymore. Their job is completely different, and they just kind of haven't gotten to that place yet. This scenario is very, very common in zoos and aquariums, and it illustrates the career progression of a lot of people. However, it is a common trap. Whether you're the person who's really good at the technical work, in this case being a keeper or aquarist, and you take that leadership role, evaluate that very carefully, whether you want to do that or not. Sometimes we kind of let the title or the bump in pay dictate how we make these decisions, and we shouldn't. We need to make sure that you've got some of those leadership skills under your belt, or even the desire to be a leader in your mind before you take that kind of a job, before you take that promotion. And also, as the organization, on the organizational side, do not make that offer to people who are not prepared to make that step and to employ a different set of skills. Part of this issue with creating micromanagers, when someone takes on a new task, or a new role rather, with a new list of tasks, a new set of expectations, and they don't understand what those expectations are, honestly, give them the job description. And if you are this person, keep the job description with you. make sure you understand what it says, and that will help you really kind of create this new job position in your mind, right? Of course, it exists. You have a job description for it, right? And if you're a hiring manager and you don't have a job description, stop it. Always have a job description, because there's like literally no expectations if you don't have one. Anyway, take that job description and really come to peace with it and understand what's going on. A micromanager may also be having an identity crisis because they don't really understand what the job is about. These are typically new leaders. They may not have developed the skills that they need yet. They're used to measuring their success in their role in a certain way. And now, with this different position, it's kind of related, but it's kind of not. They have a new list of expectations and a new list of ways that they have to think about their job to measure if they're successful or not, right? So understanding that job description will help deal with a little bit of that identity crisis. Because what happens if you don't know what your new job expectations are? You kind of fall back on things you've done in the past. And so that tends to be some of this technical work that you have done. That's how you got your experience in your field, right? You were, the frontline person doing all of that grunt work and figuring things out, and you were really good at that, right? Once you kind of step into the role of a leader, you may not be provided with a lot of education or training about how to deal with the team that you're leading now. And so it causes that identity crisis, and you're not sure what to do, and you're not sure how to rationalize how you measured your success before versus how you measure your success now with your new role. So keep that job description and just really come to understand it, and look for opportunities to learn the things on that job description that you don't feel as comfortable with. It will help you out. Managers of these people should also be willing and ready to put in that kind of time and effort and give those opportunities to someone who has been newly promoted and is not sure what to do. Because if you don't, then you will have a little mini micromanager on your hands, because what they measured their success before is comfortable, right? The way that they did that before. And so now they've got this new position, and it seems kind of different, but it's a little bit the same. Just it's managing a bunch of people that did what this person used to do, right? And so they feel like almost they could measure it the same way, just on a larger scale, because there's more people involved, right? And so that leads to micromanaging behavior, because they want to measure that success in the same way, but on an expanded scale. So in my case, instead of cleaning, 10 enclosures in a day, that's how I measured my success as a keeper. Now I want everyone to clean, 47 enclosures a day, right? And that is not feasible necessarily, because we're dealing with all different types of enclosures here, and not hitting those metrics that you've set for yourself and the way that you measured your own success previously, it just doesn't work for everybody, right? And kind of looming over everyone and saying, oh, I used to be able to get 10 done in a day. What's wrong with you? Like, it's so micromanaging. It's so not what people want to hear, because it's demoralizing. You're comparing yourself to everyone else and having some really wild expectations of someone who has more than likely an enhanced experience and knowledge level than the other folks on the team. That's how they got that job, right? So it's not fair. Please don't do that. It leads to micromanaging. If you're the individual, understand that your metrics are now different and you have to reform them, right? Take that job description and figure out what you need to do to measure your success using that job description, or work it out with your supervisor. And if you are the supervisor of this new manager, help them. Help them come up with metrics they can use that actually measure how well they're doing, and can establish some success that doesn't depend on what their framework used to be for how they measure their success in a previous role in a lower position. If someone took on this supervisory role and they feel that they are the most efficient at doing that baseline role. So a keeper or aquarist role rather than the supervisor of the keepers and aquarists, they may try to do all of it on their own, right? And that's somebody who really hasn't figured out how to lead effectively. It's not impossible. There are just some skills missing there that they haven't quite picked up on or haven't been shown or haven't judged that they're necessary, I guess. And so instead of delegating or allowing the technical folks to do their thing, instead they're trying to do their own job, being the leader, plus the job of an extra keeper or aquarist. And therefore, that can come across as micromanaging because they are now putting themselves in a position to be judged next to their direct reports. And sometimes that's not really fair because, again, you've got somebody here who's likely in that position because they had the technical skill. They produced really good results as they were working as that frontline person. That's what led them to eventually receive that promotion where they're then the supervisor of those frontline folks. Sometimes it's easy to say that rather than showing someone else how to do something, you'll just handle it yourself. Been there, done that. I still do it on occasion. Sometimes it is a task that's a little bit more complicated, or sometimes it's one that nobody else has time for. And I totally understand that. We'll just do it ourselves, right? But doing that too many times and for too many things, especially when it's basically taking over the roles of the people who are your direct reports, that is micromanaging. That is, you're kind of trying to be a superhuman. And not only are you going to be worn out, they're going to be very tired of you basically trying to do their jobs on top of your own. Because let's be honest, you're probably not going to do any of them very well. Or you'll be doing the old job that you used to have very well and not doing your current job at all or very well. And so that is not good. That is micromanaging. And you don't want to put yourself in that position or do anyone's job for them. Like, there's not enough hours in the day. Don't do people's jobs for them. It's not benefiting you. It's not benefiting them. It's not benefiting your organization. It is just a lot of work on one person, and that is not appropriate. So we've discussed these various ways that this micromanaging can happen, this accidental micromanaging. You used to be in this position. Now you're the leader of that position, but you know that stuff the best. So why not just do it? No. You have a different job now. Make sure you evaluate whether you want to take that job. They can't necessarily force you to take a promotion. And I've met plenty of people in my time in my industry that are happy at that technical level and not going a step further than that because that's the work they love and that's where they want to be. And I wholeheartedly love them for it. They know where they are. They know what they're good at. They know what they want to do. And it's fabulous. But if you do take that next step, what can you do to not be an accidental micromanager? Understand that you are a resource for those people, right? Don't tell them exactly how to do their job. By all means, explain what you would do in their shoes if they ask you to, but do not expect them to handle things exactly the way that you did. And do not do it for them because they need to learn and grow just like you were allowed to learn and grow. So understand that now your job is no longer to do that frontline work. You don't measure it the same way. Your job is now to help them do their job. So keep that job description with you because that'll be a nice little guide of the skills and things that you're going to need. And if you don't feel strong in any of them, find some sort of training opportunity to do that. It doesn't have to be anything elaborate or expensive either. Everything's on YouTube, right? I've learned tons of life skills through YouTube. Find a podcast, find a YouTube, find, somebody else that you might know who's really good at that thing and ask them to give you some pointers. Like, there's lots of different ways that you can, pick up some of these skills, read a book, go to the library, whatever. there are lots of ways to pick up these skills that you might be feeling like you're not super strong in, but understand that your job is different now. You do not do that, or your primary goal, I guess, is not to do that technical work anymore. Your goal is to make it easier for the people who are doing that work. And your goal is to try and help them do the best that they can do and help them learn and grow so that they are the next fantastic examples of that technical work. Another thing that makes this transition really difficult, going from the technical person to the leader of those technical people, is just the shift from peer to leader. Like, as far as your relationships with those people go, they were your coworkers, your peers before, and now you are supervising them today, right? That is super awkward, or at least it can be, and it changes the dynamic of the relationship, whether you like it or not. Things are different. They can't act the same way around you, and you can't necessarily act the same way around them. Do not go into those discussions and things expecting that everyone's going to treat you exactly the same way that they did before, and probably the same goes for you treating them the same way. Like, it's a little different. They can't be quite as open with you, or at least not yet, and you have to kind of rebuild whatever relationship that you had with these folks. You have to build it up into a different type of relationship. I'm not saying that you can't be close with the people that you supervise. You definitely can, but understand that there is a little bit of a barrier there and that you need to respect that, and as do they. And they can't quite speak so openly with you, at least in the start. It may get there in time once you build up trust in a less peer-to-peer kind of relationship and more peer-to-supervisor type of relationship. It's a little different. And you just can't handle that the same way. It's a little bit different. It's a little bit awkward. But just keep talking. If you're curious as to how you can help them do their jobs even better, just ask them, right? They have ideas about how they would be able to do their jobs better. And since that is your new goal now, instead of focusing on your performance and your technical work, you're now focusing on theirs, because they still need to get that work done. And they've kind of lost you as that side-by-side peer, right? They look to you probably for some guidance or some advice. And yes, you're still there, but it's different, right? You're not necessarily in the trenches with them every day anymore. You might be off doing something else, doing some purchasing or budgeting or other things that we have to do as leaders, right? So you just have to kind of rebuild that relationship. It's weird, but it gets easier. And the easiest way to build relationship is just to talk. Communicate somehow. Ask each other questions about how things are going and what you're hoping to see in the future, and just keep those conversations going. Make sure you understand what they're looking for as far as their career goals, so you can try and help them make that happen, and just listen and try to make their job easier. That is now your job. Next up, be pretty careful about how you go about correcting people. I'm sure if you've had a micromanager before, you understand what I mean when I say that, because you don't necessarily want to jump down someone's throat because they're not doing things the same way that you would in their shoes, right? That's not necessarily the only way that things can get done. But really, don't yell at them. Don't question everything that they're doing, and try to push them to do things the way that you used to do them. It might be the most efficient way for you, but it might be different for them, right? And always approach others with curiosity. Ask them what's going on, and ask them to lead you through their thought process as they, go about their day. Or if you feel like something is being inefficient, just ask them what's going on and tell them that you are curious about it and you'd like to know more about the way that they're thinking and solving problems and going about their work. Not only will that more positively affect your relationship with that person, because you're not telling them exactly what to do, you're just asking about how they think and what their thought process was and how they came to conclusions. And they may be right or wrong, right? Like, as long as nothing is, injured or nothing explodes. Like, I feel like it's not that big of a deal. And you can talk it out and kind of come up with some observations together or ideas together, because sometimes they don't know everything that you knew when you were in that position, right? You can't assume that they have the same viewpoint that you did once upon a time when you were in that position, right? Sometimes they are not aware of something else that you had taken into account when you were formulating your method to do some of this stuff. And so that will probably come out as they describe what's going on, and you're approaching things with curiosity and asking questions, avoiding accusations, avoiding jumping to conclusions, avoiding assuming intent, right? Instead, just approaching things with questions and curiosity. It will let them know that you're interested in how they think, as well as you're looking out for something that they may not have thought about in their thought process. If you kind of organically point that out as part of the conversation and let them know, they may change automatically what they're doing to be more like what you did before, because maybe it is the most effective solution in this case, right? But just telling them to do that is not helping, right? It doesn't help them learn why or help them figure out why that they should be doing something in a certain way. I'm all about you figure out the way that you want to get from point A to point B. As long as nothing explodes or dies, we're good. Love that. And some people will take that and they will do things in a very different way than I do. And I try to be curious about it. And sometimes they come up with some really great ideas. So turns out I was the wrong one. But I never would have known if I'm trying to tell people how to do their jobs day in and day out. At this point in my career, the regular aquarist work that I had been doing when I first started learning how to do my technical work is very different than it is now. And so the experience and knowledge that incoming aquarists have at this point is much more relevant than what I knew 20 some years ago, right? So just because people aren't doing the things the way that I would do them 20 years ago, that doesn't mean they're wrong. It just means that they probably have more relevant knowledge and experience than I do from when I was doing this decades ago. And that's another thing. Be okay with letting them figure things out and letting them kind of come up with their own answers, right? That's how we all learn how to do our technical work, honestly. Like, you have some amount of, school training maybe, you have some amount of knowledge on your own, you have some amount of experience you're working with, but from there, you figured it out. And so not letting someone else do the same is a disservice to them. And it's also a disservice to yourself, because you're also not learning and growing and watching them blossom into an awesome technical person, right? You're depriving everyone of growth and innovation. So just give them the goal, and if they need more guidance, they will ask you for more guidance. And you'll find in that discussion, in that back and forth, you'll find the sweet spot where you can give them enough information that they can work with and give them some kind of bumpers. I say, do this thing, get from where we are now to where will be, but then also don't kill or explode anything, please. Very vague guidelines where it's, not necessary for me to provide a lot of guidance or bumpers, if you will, to keep everybody on track. But from there, they can figure it out. They will go look for the most helpful tools that they need to get that thing done. Or they'll do some research about how to modify their exhibit to do what we need it to do. Let them learn. Let them figure it out. Let them use technology and guide you about how this is going to work from now on to get to that goal that you've set for them. And while you're kind of figuring out your new relationships and you're approaching things with curiosity rather than telling people what to do and how they should do it, also understand that there are some boundaries that you need to set as a supervisor at this point. And that might be that you are not going to hang out with people after hours or, do anything that makes it seem like you favor certain team members over others. You might want to consider doing that if you're not already. So just understand that your relationship is a little bit different. Your expectations for your role are a little bit different, and you might have to adjust accordingly. I don't mean to ruin your fun. I don't mean to make you sad about not working in that technical work anymore and being the leader of the team. Sometimes that is what is most needed. Somebody who understands the team, the organization, the role better than others because they've just been around more or have worked more closely with a leader in the past. They might be the next person that should take that position, right? Sometimes you want to avoid having an external candidate come in and turn over your entire team. It's having to start over from scratch and build those relationships from nothing. Somebody who's already there has an advantage. They already know these people. They know the good, the bad, the ugly, and can work with that, right? It's not always the best choice to hire from within, but sometimes it is, right? Just understand if you are on either side of that promotion, whether you're the one doing the promoting, like you're the hiring manager for that next level leader, right? Or if you are the person who's pondering taking that position, you must understand what that job is. Otherwise, you're going to end up most likely being an accidental micromanager for various different reasons. It's a tough transition to make, but it can be done as long as you're aware and open-minded about improving at your job, right? And more than likely, if you're a technical person who is very, very good at their work, you are interested in being better at your job, right? You're interested in learning and refining your techniques, right? This is just a different type of job. And if you're not at all interested in leadership techniques or dealing with people on a more regular basis, because a lot of us got into our work in my field because they like to work with animals and they didn't want to work with people. If you're still in that mindset, be honest with yourself. If you're still in that mindset, then don't take that promotion. Do everyone a favor and don't be the headache. You will be much more respected, even if your organization's displeased about that. You'll be much more respected with your teammates if you turn down that position and don't become the micromanager you're destined to be if you are not willing and able to grow your people skills and shift your focus from that technical work into your team, right? You're not managing the technical stuff, the day-to-day anymore. You're managing the team who's in charge of that stuff. So if you're not willing to do that, please don't take the job. I know that the title is tempting. I know that the pay is helpful. None of us get paid really well in our field, at least. So understanding that you're going to not take that job and there are likely going to be consequences for that, but it's not going to be as bad as taking the job and then kind of making a fool of yourself a little bit because you're not willing to grow as a leader instead, right? And if you're happy with that technical work, stay with that technical work. It's okay. You're doing great. Keep doing great. And if you found yourself already in this position where you realize now that you're managing a team kind of poorly because you're an accidental micromanager, just change one step at a time, one day at a time, right? Instead of telling people how to do their jobs, maybe just ask them how they think that they could do that task that you're asking them about, right? Just open up the communication a little bit and understand what your job description says. So if you don't even have any idea what that says, pull that out and take a look. It's probably going to mention a lot of leadership, management, leading a team and working with the team and interdepartmental stuff, right? That's what most of our leadership job descriptions say. So shifting what you measure your own success by to fit more into what that job description says will do everyone a lot more benefit than you continuing to kind of yearn for the days of old when you were doing that technical job. And now you have a leadership position and you need to focus on leadership things. So do it one step at a time, one little conversation at a time, one little adjustment at a time. Just take a step back and let people do the work that you're asking them to do. And note, it's asking, not telling. Okay, if you have any questions about that or any leadership or management things, let me know. You can write it up in an email and send it to me at aquatazoo@gmail.com. If you're enjoying the show, and I hope that you do, don't forget you can follow or subscribe on your podcast player of choice. That way you'll get all of that sweet, sweet content as soon as it releases. If you'd like to support the podcast directly, you can find me at patreon.com/aquatazoo. And if you're looking to take a vacation and you don't know where to start, I happen to be a personal vacation advisor with Magical Vacation Planner, and I would love to help you out. It does not cost you anything extra. The links are in the show notes. Okay, thanks for listening. I heart your faces. Okay, bye.